Hello everyone. Operator Starsky here. It's very nice to see you, friends. And surprisingly enough, we have light, like for almost a whole day. The electricity. I'm not sure if Anna from Ukraine told you this, but in Ukraine we don't say we have electricity. We say we have light. Like, do you have light? Yeah or no? So yeah, Ukrainians always have light, even if sometimes we have no electricity. And speaking about Anna from Ukraine, recently she uploaded some really interesting video covering fashion and Olympic Games and things like that. You can see it on her channel. Oh my god, when you say your oblast, it sounds so powerful, guys. You can't imagine this. Yeah. So speaking of sports and fashion and things like that, of course we will talk about it tonight. I hope you have your coffee. I have mine, and it's a very special cup that I received from Rudy Ruchil, who makes my merch, because it's a black cup, but when filled with hot beverage, it starts looking like this, which is some sort of magic. I don't know how it works, but it's so cool. All right. Speaking of fashion, let's talk about everything tonight, because we don't often talk about just life, about yourself, sometimes about myself, and tonight we will talk about everything. We will see a lot of different pictures, things like that. Yes, Roman Stingler, everything, literally. Donna Olson, what's it mean to be oblast? So oblast is basically like a province or state or area of your country. If your country is made of different areas, like states, like regions, districts, provinces. In Ukrainian language, it's oblast. In Polish language, it's województwo. In the US, I think it's counties, probably like states, but basically it's provinces. It's parts of your country. Okay, in Ukraine we call it oblast. I don't know why. Historically, this is how we call it. Yeah, county, states, districts. Thank you, Richard. North Fleet Oblast, Australia Oblast. It's amazing. Okay. Yeah, Daughter of Texas says we call them counties. Yeah, or basically like states. Yeah. So Mark Snyder said exactly what it is. State is an oblast and county is like rayon. Rayon is a, like, literally translated as a region, okay, but it's too complicated. Fashion, and specifically this contest of Miss Universe, whatever. So I read the interview made by this lady on the left, Anna Linikova. She is a representative of the Terrorist Federation, and of course she was wearing this red crown costume. And in her interview, she was really upset because she said she was like stalked by different fans of Ukraine or whatever, and they threatened her and things like that, and she just wanted to be peaceful and yada yada. But when I read the opinion of Ukrainian representative, Ms. Apanasenko, she said that a couple of times, and it was like constantly, the Russian representative tried to make pictures next to her or approach her and whatever. And she said a couple of times she came up to me and she said, "Do you want to make selfie together?" And because Russians don't have this feature, okay, of walking the other's shoes, probably they imagine, like, taking picture together with Ukrainian representatives would be like expressing the feeling of friendship, and that despite all the differences and all the conflicts, we can live in peace. No, doesn't work like this. First thing she needed to say, and I'm talking not only about her, but about all the Russians generally, but taking her as an example, when she approached our representative, she needed to say, "I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about what my country did to your country, and I'm really sorry that your people are suffering because of us, and I don't support genocide of Ukrainians. That's why I would like to make this photo together with you to say that common Russian people who don't support genocide and war against Ukraine can be friends with you." That would be acceptable, but she didn't understand that. And by the way, this trick works like all the time, like every single time they attack Ukraine, they annex territories, kill plenty of people, and then they go like, "Why don't you want to make a selfie with us? Don't you support peace? Don't you support friendship?" Ukrainians don't support friendships. They don't want to have anything in common with us, They literally like they don't get it. And one of the questions I received in the commentaries regarding today's stream was, why orcs are so dumb? And the reason why they're so dumb is very obvious, is because the country ruled by terrorist regime doesn't need smart citizens. And of course, if Russians were able to check facts, to learn other languages and learn different resources and learn more about different nations and accept more objective information, right? They would be not really happy to go to the Ukrainian front lines and die in thousands for nothing for Putin. But that's exactly what they do, because they were taught for many, many years, decades, and almost a century that you gotta trust Russian media, that everybody lies. All the countries want to eliminate Mother Russia because, like, they hate us because we are so good. And one of the things I remember just like recently, I'm sure that you don't know this one. It's about so-called New Russians. Tell me in the commentaries if you ever heard about them. So, New Russians was like a meme in around late 90s, let's say. So it was about Russian bandits, mafiosi, and oligarchs. Russians had plenty of jokes about New Russians, and by New Russians they called all the bandits, all the basically oligarchs, everybody who stole or took a lot of money from common people, became rich, and then they became politicians, businessmen, and things like that. But not gopniks. Gopniks is a different story. Basically like Putin, but Putin like KGB dude, and they were like literally bandits. And I will show you this because I can. Okay, we can use the magic of... Oh, I disappeared. Oh, here it is. We can use the magic of the internet. Новый русский. This is how they called themselves. So, this is a typical New Russian. And by the way, this one, I think, was one of the famous politicians. So, this is a typical New Russian here, like a bandit. So basically, it's like a brutal bandit, some big bully, who gained a lot of money in some illegal way, became very famous, and of course they had zero taste. That's why they were wearing all kinds of expensive, non-stylish stuff. Bob, is this real? It is, unfortunately. But the reason why we started talking about them in the first place is because I just realized it today. They couldn't call them bandits on public. That's why they called them New Russians, which was like a neutral. It was like calling explosions claps, the way they do. So, yeah, Louis, basically gangsters. And they were afraid to call them oligarchs or bandits or mafiosos, and that's the reason why they came up with this name, New Russians. So if they heard like a joke about themselves, they would not be like angry or abused. And that's the reason why, I don't like watching Russian bloggers. They don't talk. They have this feature. They were taught, life taught them that you cannot talk much. You have to talk on your kitchen because, like, it's dangerous. Somebody might hear you. A lot of people in the civilized world who support Russians, they don't understand this whenever we talk about Russian terrorism and things like that, there are always some people living in America or whatever, but having like hammer and sickle on their user pics and things like that, and they go, America is a terrorist country. America invaded plenty of countries and killed plenty of people. America gave you freedom of speech so you can freely talk about it. If you start saying this on the red square of your beloved Russia, you will get effed instantly. Yeah, as Nadav Ben Shlomo says, everyone is terrified in terror Russia. It's exactly like that. Magdalena says, wiem HIMARS jakoś to przeżyje. It's true. Oh, Tacoma says, I lived in Germany in the 90s and heard all about all these new Russians all over the German news outlets. So you know what I'm talking about. Benjamin says, in Turkey they offered Russians free tours. We could book it in the Netherlands or other Europe countries. It was nice, let's say. Amanda, what happens if you talk in your left string instead of your right string? I don't do it on purpose because the world will collapse, trust me. I'm trying to save you guys. That's why it's like this. Yeah, and the point is, Russians don't realize that when they come to Ukrainians trying to take a selfie and show that we can be friends, first thing they should say is «Вибачте, будь ласка, я довбойоб». Вибачте, будь ласка, за все, що наша країна з вами зробила. Which basically means I'm sorry, I'm a very stupid person, and I'm sorry for everything my country did to your country. Those are the words that must be in front of their every sentence when they start talking to Ukrainians. And only then, basically, we will be listening to them. Today I read the Q&A posted on the Olympic Committee, the infamous one. And Polycount, have you got your personal Bradley with your name tag on it yet? I will be so happy to have it. So I read that article Q&A, and they were saying that they support Ukraine so much, and they participated in those sanctions placed on Russia, things like that. They also said that they want Russian or Belarusian sportsmen to participate because International Olympic Committee stands against discrimination, and they don't want to discriminate terrorists. Even despite the fact that Olympic players from Russia or Belarus, of course, they are funded and trained using state facilities. They're funded by their governments officially because they represent their country, even though they cannot, participate without flag, with their flag, but still they represent their country. They don't represent themselves. So that was basically their answer. And Jeanine told me, and also I read a lot of such commentaries on my YouTube as well, that people say you cannot politicize sports. Sports must be demonstrating friendship, sports must be like, competitions and yada yada. It must be entertaining, friendly, and there must be no discrimination. I agree, there must be no discrimination completely, 100%. However, you probably remember this girl from Hostomel. Her name is, I think her name was Sasha Panchuk. Wait a second. Sasha Filipchuk was her name. So she lost her arm when Russians attacked Hostomel and Bucha, and she was hiding with her mom from Russians, and because of Russian shelling, she lost her arm, and last year she went to the US and received a new arm from the American doctors, I think for free. So for those people who think that you should not politicize sports, I would like you to find correct words to explain this kid why you should not politicize sports and why you should allow Russian sportsmen representing their terrorist country, the reason why she lost her arm, why they should participate. There are options. You can tell her, Sasha, I'm sorry about your arm, but we should not politicize sports, and Russians should participate, even though they will still represent their country and they will be funded by their country, the one that invaded your house, the one that invaded your city, your country, and the one that made you suffer. But we should make them participate. Those things make me so mad sometimes. People know so little about war. People that were spoiled by living in peace a lot. People whose biggest biggest nightmare was reading people debunking that Earth is not flat, and people who live in their comfortable bubble, this comfortable cartoon, they don't realize that life is much more valuable than sports. They don't realize that we lived in the same country and we also had this comfortable bubble, and we all had this beautiful cartoon about peaceful tomorrow, and all Ukrainians were saying that Russia is not gonna attack because we're not Nazi, we're not killing civilians, they don't have guts, or they just too smart to do this. And our life changed in 1 second with the first cruise missile that hit Ukraine, and people's lives changed with electricity that disappeared, with water that disappeared, with heating and yada yada, and with countless lives that we lost. It's very hard to imagine, for example, what I'm talking about my parents, okay? I won't talk about parents of my guys, but I'm talking about my parents. When I was deployed numerous times on the Donbass between 2015 and 2021, I can only imagine them, how much worried they were about me. And to me, it was like, I didn't take it serious because I knew that, like, I'll survive, nothing bad will happen to me. But literally, now there are millions of people out there who are worried about their friends and their families in Ukraine, about people they don't know. And for the first time in their lives, people realize that people can actually die. And dying of disease is a tragedy, dying of incidents is a tragedy. But now it's like dying because of war, because a horde of terrorists want to eliminate your nation. So it's so complicated. And currently the Minister of Sport of Poland said that there is an alliance, European alliance of countries, which includes almost 40 countries that can boycott Olympic Games, which means that it will basically render this competition useless if it happens. So now it's up to them. But the reason they don't want to ban Russians and Belarusians, in my personal opinion, and I can be wrong, of course, but I have a theory. And this theory is following. So there's Afghanistan that is banned since 2020 because Taliban violates women's rights in Afghanistan. The same time, North Korea was banned since I think around 2020 as well. After COVID, they canceled their participation, and there was some conflict with the IOC and something like that. Iran is not banned, even though for many years Iran was the number one boogeyman in the international culture, media, and whatever. But Iran is not banned. Why is it so? So the answer, in my personal opinion, again, I may be wrong, but the reason is very much obvious. The money. So the sponsors of Olympic Games, usually they gave some funds and they become like official or premium sponsors of Olympic Games, and then they receive a lot of advertisement from TV channels, from Olympic Committee as well, and things like that. And the reason why they banned Afghanistan, and they don't even mention Afghanistan, is because there's not much things you can sell nowadays in Afghanistan, right? Nobody really cares. Coca-Cola, I think they don't sell Coca-Cola there. Some electronics, and like, how can you even have official trade agreement with Taliban, right? It's ridiculous. It's like having trade agreements with ISIS, okay? At the same time, in Iran, they sell a lot of stuff. Coca-Cola is sold in Iran. So there's a lot of things that West is selling to Iran. That's why they don't want to lose that market. Same with Russia, because a lot of countries still, a lot of companies still trade with Russia. And they go like this. They go, committee, listen here. We don't want to lose that market. We want to be advertised there because we have offices there, and we will lose profit. So you try not to ban them and try to find a way for them to participate, okay? Because we need that advertisement. And basically that's the reason. In my personal opinion, I might be wrong, but as a person who worked a lot with media, with marketing managers and all this field, I have some opinion on this, okay? That's why they will not ban Russians completely, even though Russians are condemned for what they're doing in Ukraine, and not only in Ukraine, by the way. So that one was obvious. What else did we miss? Richard Stephens, greed over patriotism. Absolutely. And for the first time in, I don't know, probably in history, this can change, because so much countries can unite against participation of Russian terrorists. And those companies now should consider whether they want to risk Russian market, which is not the biggest market in the world, guys. It's 20 times smaller than the combined, we're talking about GDP here. GDP of Russia is 20 times smaller than combined GDP of European countries, even though Russia is 10 times bigger than Europe, okay? So they should consider whether they want to lose Western market or Russian market. I think they will make a proper choice, and something tells me that eventually they will make this proper choice. I think India is largest market. Yes, Richard, I agree. There is a huge market, but the question is the ability of people to pay. I don't remember how you call it properly. There's a lot of the population of India is pretty much like population of Russia in regards of wealth, okay? And even despite that, there's a lot of richer people in India than in Russia. I mean, they're middle class, okay? Common people. Cloudfather, operator Starsky, how's your dog? So he's sleeping. He's sleeping, and he was barking while sleeping and chasing rabbits. He always does that. I decided not to wake him up, so that's why I found this picture of Fuch, just to remind you how this fluffy bastard looks like. And he didn't change much. You can trust me. So one time, Fuch came up to me and said, "Dude, I decided to dominate the world." And I was like, how are you gonna do that? And he said that's what he told me. So I think that he has powers. How old is Fuch? I think that he is something like 7-8 years old. I adopted him from a shelter when he was reportedly 2-3 years old, and it was in late 2017, so could be 9 years old, but he behaves like a puppy. Lisbeth, wish he was sleeping in your bed. He did for a while when it was cold in my previous apartment, but and he was really happy, but now he's even happier because he has a bigger space that he can use however he likes. All right. There was another question from... I should have noted it. It was in my... Wait a second, guys. I gotta find this one because it was very, very important. I lost it. Okay, if I don't answer your question, please excuse me, because I have this dementia, and I suffer from it for years. Samo Terpak, Sir, do you cook something? I can hear... Okay, sir, do you cook something? I can hear little whistling in the background. It's my computer, it's my laptop. Even despite it's a good laptop, but it's trying to take off, I think. Olaf Nilsson, about market, Russia versus India. GNP India 3. Is it billions or is it like trillions? I think rather trillions. Yeah. So what makes me so amazed about India, and it's a different topic. It's regarding their actors. So imagine there's like some popular actors in India who have like 100 million subscribers or followers in their social media. Can you imagine this number? It's crazy. It's so insane. But there's a lot of people in India, actually. And it's like, you literally wake up every day knowing that your social media, where you just posted your selfie, will receive like 1 million reactions in just 5 minutes because you have like 300 million fans in your country. It's amazing. I never thought about it, but some of my friends who visited India told me like there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of subscribers on their social media. It's insane. We cannot imagine this. Can you clarify the official death figures, please? Is that 130,000 Russian army dead and wounded? So we count motionless bodies, okay, whenever we receive footage. And I know for sure that there's a whole department of the general staff works on this. A lot of officers don't sleep because they have to prepare this report before morning. And they're literally counting bodies found on footage, and they're counting like motionless bodies. Nobody counts wounded Russians. However, time to time we receive some intelligence data on that. So we have approximate understanding how many people they're losing from the wounds. Nancy, operator Starsky should have 100 million fans. Oh my god, I'm struggling to answer all the messages only having 300,000. I will need to hire like an assistant, but it will be wrong because I don't want to answer messages through other people. It's wrong. Alicia, Starsky, interview your father regarding Chernobyl. Thank you, Alicia. He was interviewed a lot only in Ukrainian, but I think I can do this. I can do this for you. At least I will try. Anthony, do Ukrainian chicks only like rich men? I think chicks in Ukraine are like in all other countries. They're different, but they're similar to other women. Oh, Raven 7, you're going to be flying and 225 on Microsoft Flight Simulator when you can. I will definitely do that. At some point I thought about interviewing Dmitro Antonov myself, but it's like it's not that he's hard to reach, but I know that he's piloting Ruslan and 124, and he's probably busy, so but it's possible, actually. And I was so excited to learn that he was actually cooperating with Microsoft and this developer that builds add-ons for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And it's so amazing. It was my dream. Actually, remember, guys, we were talking about it last year, about creating a like a study level add-on of AN225. And I understand that there's a lot of viewers who don't really like simulators and all the stupid games and things like that. I will show you why big boys like Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, just briefly. Center, say weather for Twin Cessna 35 Foxtrot, please.
Twin Cessna 35 Foxtrot weather at Lima India Papa uniform is clear. Current altimeter is 3012. Temperature -3, dew point -3.
Roger, Twin Cessna 35 Foxtrot, thank you. So it was like a small video I made for you from Microsoft Flight Simulator, one of my flights over Italy, and basically one of the ways that helped me to relax when I have time, and fuel for my generator. So because Microsoft Flight Simulator uses Bing Maps, which is basically like Google Maps, everything you see in it exists in the real world. So if your house was photographed by the satellite, it will be in the game. Probably a bit different. I was in Antonov Airport. It looked a bit different than it should, but it will be there. So it's a good opportunity to travel. I saw a lot of commentaries from older people who say, I'm 70 years old, I will never become a pilot. However, it was my biggest dream all my life. It's too late for me, basically. But because there's this Microsoft Flight Simulator, I can travel around the world and see it basically as it is. That's why it's so cool. There's a question from Shay Iris. How does Ukraine view transgender people? Like in any other country. Nothing like in Russia when opinion makers on national television call to burn their hearts in crematoriums. In Ukraine, nobody cares. Like, nobody cares, okay? You can be whatever you want to be. Heard Ukraine lost a lot of ground in Donbass. So let's check it out. Let's check it out, and I hope that this video didn't lag a lot. And by the way, I uploaded that livery for Cessna 310 to flightsim.2 if simmers are watching me right now. So let's see the deep state map. Okay, I agree. All right. Okay, cool. So this is the deep state map of Ukraine. And currently on this map, you can see two territories colored in green and red. Specifically, this territory. Yes, I want to support on Patreon. You are so cool. Specifically, this territory called Crimea, and those two territories, this one and this one, called Donetsk and Luhansk, they were annexed basically prior to this full-scale invasion. So we're talking about 2014 and 2021, beginning of 2022. They were already controlled by Russians for 8 years. Because when Russians invaded Ukraine after the revolution, Ukrainian army was pretty much ruined. So you know what I'm talking about. Let's see. So let's pick another color. This territory is basically what they managed to capture during 344 days of extreme fighting in Ukraine, and still control. And this territory here in Kharkiv, and those territories, basically all the North Ukraine, where and also here on the south of Ukraine. So those territories were liberated by the Ukrainian army. So how many is a lot of ground in Donbass, quote unquote? If we're talking about capturing Soledar, it's capturing of literally 3 kilometers of a territory. It's like moving front line 3 kilometers deeper, which took them 344 days. It's just so you could understand how much territory Russia actually captured, and how much territory is still under their control in Ukraine, comparing to the territory that was liberated by Ukrainian troops. And we are not even mentioning the losses of the Russian army. and the electricity disappeared. What is your favorite drink and favorite food? Question from Kellen, and the answer is pretty much the coffee, protein shakes, of course, because they're tasty, and pasta, barbecue, everything meat, pizza with 5 cheeses. I mentioned it in one of my previous streams, and things like that. Yeah, Mark Snyder says Solidar is a small town with a salt mine. Basically, it's true. Like, you cannot, if you don't know the geography, you cannot even compare Solidar to places like, I don't know, Izum. Izum is a small town, but it's still bigger than Solidar. So yeah, geography is a good thing. To know. Caviar, the dude. Why did you mention caviar? Caviar is so good. Andre Silva, how's Bogdan? I saw Bogdan 2 days ago. Actually, he was here. He is fine. He looks big and round, which is awesome. How about the orcs in Moldova? Will they do something on the 24th of February? It's a good question. I'm gonna sneeze. No, I don't. No, I don't. Okay, I don't. So, orcs in Moldova are not really numerous. That's why they can't really change a lot in terms of the strategic situation. Dallas Volk. I named my latest Skyrim character Odessa in honor of Ukraine. Sounds cool. Bless you. Thank you so much. I didn't sneeze. Right. Even Mariupol. So they say Russia wins this war. We took Mariupol. Russians didn't manage to take any of Ukrainian major cities since beginning of the invasion 344 days ago. Even the major city of Kherson, which is dramatically more important than Mariupol in terms of infrastructure, in terms of objects located in Kherson and things like that. Even Kherson was liberated eventually by the Ukrainian army. They only managed to take Donetsk and Luhansk and Crimea using their hybrid army advantage in terms of numbers, sheer numbers, 9 years ago. That's all. Mariupol is not a center of the oblast. The center of the oblast is Donetsk, which was taken 9 years ago. Inkboy, heard that Russia has no intention in rebuilding Azovstal. You gotta see one of the recent videos. And actually, you know what? I will show it because I can. Let me see what I had it. It has subtitles for you guys, so there's no need to translate it. Where did I see that? I hope that it's still here. So, people from Mariupol are talking basically about Russians abandoning everybody because they don't have heat, they don't have electricity, and anything like that. I cannot find it on my Telegram, even though it was on Denis Kazansky's channel. I will show it to. I will show it in the upcoming stream, guys. Cannot find it right now, but I will. I promise. Basically, they're talking that they cannot heat themselves. They don't have water whatsoever, and things like that, and that Russian liberators basically abandoned people. I'm not surprised. Why 9 years ago had no repercussion on Western media and now it does? It's a very good question, and we gotta ask people like, I don't know, Mrs. Merkel, for example. I think she has a lot of things to tell regarding this. What's the temperature in Ukraine now? So it was quite warm today. It's 400s. Oh my god, 4 degrees Celsius and 0 degrees Celsius in the night. Actually, not that cold, and we even had some sunshine today. Yeah, Les Madsen says the problem with destroying everything before you occupy it is there is nothing left to occupy. Exactly. But the goal of Russians is not actually to occupy. The goal of Russians is basically to destroy. I know it sounds stupid, but their main objective of whole this invasion in Ukraine was to eliminate Ukrainian nation because they hate us so much. And the reason they hate us so much, again, is because they were teaching their citizens that Ukraine was a lower race and Russians are superior and Ukraine doesn't deserve to live better and things like that. Side topic, USSR. Speaking of USSR, today I received a commentary from one of our viewers regarding those times, and he said that his family actually was repressed in the 40s by the NKVD. And my family was also repressed in early 20s by Russian Bolsheviks. And the story behind this is following. So my great-great-great-grandpa was a blacksmith, and he had a huge facility, and he employed a lot of people to work for him. And he was a well-known blacksmith. It's my mother's relatives. So when and he met a girl. Was a bit different. He met an inventor who had a river mill, a mill using the power of river to make flour. So they married their kids. They became good friends, and basically they had a happy life. And again, they were employing a lot of people. They were very famous. At some point, Bolsheviks took power and they took their business. And because they were businessmen, and this Russian Bolshevik Revolution was calling businessmen and entrepreneurs. Basically, they were enemies. They were class enemies, which is completely insane. So they were deprived of their property, and they were pronounced enemies of state of USSR. Wasn't called USSR back then. It was RFSR, but the same shit actually. So that's the story of my family, and there's a lot of such stories. Basically, they were pronounced enemies because they were employing people. Steve says, first Ukrainian independence was 1918. That's right. And it was the time when Ukrainian army together with Polish army managed to kick out the Bolsheviks from Kiev. And my great grandpa on my father's side participated in this combat. So he was a badass. He lived a long life, and he had like three wives. Okay, I mean, not at the same time, but not simultaneously, because it's crazy. But after his first wife died because of a disease, he took their newborn and he ride his horse to another village, and he married another woman who already had kids. And then when she died, I think it was because there was this artificial famine in Ukraine called Holodomor, inflicted by Russians. And because she died from the disease caused by this, he married for the third time. And he had a lot of kids. Majority of those kids were not his like biological kids, but he managed to keep them educated, keep them warm, and during the Holodomor, no one died in his family. So that's his story, and he was a badass. There was a time, and this was a story that he told to my dad. Like, he said that nobody should know about this or we're screwed. So, Garage Boy, it is live right now. You're in time. So one time Bolsheviks took all the grain from people and they brought it to like a huge barn, and they were sitting there in their headquarters and drinking. 5 men. So my great grandpa, and John, he was not a Cossack ataman, but he was a Cossack actually. He was a partisan. So he took his sawn-off shotgun, and because they were drunk, he killed. You can kill people, you know. He was killing orcs. Okay, it's a different thing. So he shot them and set the barn on fire. And people who arrived, because it was a village and there was like fire, you know, they saw that all this grain was safe. All the grain that Russian Bolsheviks took from people, so they could take it back. And nobody knew about this. Leper, Cossacks know how to make war. Cossacks know how to defend their people. Vivian, what is a Cossack? So Cossack is a type of traditional Ukrainian warriors that I think first they appear in the in the history like less than 1,000 years ago, but quite some while ago, okay? And they had their base near Zaporizhia at the island of Hortica, and they were known for being like one of the best modern infantry of that time. And not like warrior farmer. So most of those people were just running away from their masters or just searching for a better life. And they were all coming to that big military camp called Zaporizhian Siege. Siege like in this Dune movie, by the way. And they were joining this Cossack army, and there they learned how to operate their firearms, of course, and not a lot of people know about this. Let me show you. Okay, here's the browser. Okay, this is the flag of the Zaporizhian Cossacks. Okay, it's a modern one, but that person in the center on the shield is Ukrainian Cossack. So if you pay close attention to what he has, you will see that he has a musket and he has a saber. Okay, so Cossacks were known that for being armed with those muskets. Cossacks realized that firearms are probably the best weapons that was available at that time. There are numerous excavations, archaeological excavations that were discovering a lot of remains of Zaporizhian Cossacks in different areas where they had battles and things like that. So they had more rifles, or rather muskets, than sabers. They are discovering more firearms than actually cold weapons, like bladed weapons. Cossacks would rather buy a firearm than a musket. So they were really efficient with those. They developed this style of defense, so they had a lot of wagons, right, propelled by horses, and when they were stationing somewhere, they would make a makeshift fort using those wagons, and cannons were attached to those wagons actually, and they could defend themselves like that very, very easy from enemy cavalry, enemy infantry, whatever. Anna Beckman says, please, if you don't know much about Maidan, watch Winter on Fire, a heart-gripping documentary. And of course, I have something to say about Maidan, because I was there myself in 2013 and early 2014. Here I have... So, you remember... oh my god, I ran away. You remember Euro 2012 in Ukraine? We had a lot of guests, and that's me in the revolutionary Ukrainian town hall of Kiev, where we still had that huge ball as a reminder of this Eurovision, not Eurovision, FIFA football competition, basically, Eurovision. Yeah, so that's where I was stationed, basically. And are you in the documentary anywhere? Not really, Jennifer, because we didn't want to make pictures a lot, you know, and we all were wearing masks because the regime that was ruling Ukraine, it was hunting for activists, and thugs would literally come to your place, to your apartment, and kidnap you for that. That's why we didn't have much pictures from that period, me neither, and I'm very lucky that some of those pictures were preserved. This one, for example, is with Viktor. He is a very famous Ukrainian politician, one of the most wanted Ukrainian bachelors of his time. I think he still is. So yeah, nice jacket. Thank you so much. Leather jacket is a great outfit for a street combat, I tell you. Especially if there's plenty of, let's say, cops having like those batons and things like that. And in winter, of course, because it's kind of cold outside. So yeah, so I was among the securities of Maidan. We were repelling people coming from Donbass, and in most cases those were like local boxers, local MMA fighters, local wrestlers, everybody who later became soldiers, yeah, terrorists of so-called LNR, LPR or DPR. Those were some crazy times. I have some awesome picture here. Wait a second. Oh, here it is. So that's on the top. That's me playing piano. We just returned from the patrol. Okay, it was really cold. It was really cold, guys. It was something like -20, and everybody was frozen. And we just returned. It was in the middle of the night, and we were having like some hot beverage, tea, coffee, tea with ginger, some sandwiches that were prepared for us by people, and the guys went to sleep, and we were sleeping here. Let me show you this. I specifically found all those pictures for you. So we were sleeping here. This, oh my god, I ran away again. This is the Revolutionary City Hall of Kiev. This is how it looked back in those days. You can see all those people sleeping on the floor, and there on the top, let me zoom it for you. There in the top, you can see like a stage, and near that screen you can see a really nice. I liked it, and because tired like hell. And yeah, my fingers were frozen so much, but still I played for them a bit. And the next picture is me playing piano in Krasnohorivka just next year. So Krasnohorivka, let me show you. Let's see. Deep state map. Okay. So Krasnohorivka is here, Donetsk Oblast. Here's Kurakhova. Here's Mariinka. Okay, and north of Mariinka, there is Krasnohorivka. And by the way, the front line in this area didn't change at all. I mean, it was like that, specifically here, it was like that almost 7 years ago. In 2015, wait, it's almost 8 years ago. So basically in 2015, it was like that. Krasnohorivka was controlled by our forces, Staromykhailivka by Russian forces, Mariinka didn't change much actually. Alexandrivka was controlled by Russians still, yeah. So it was in Krasnohorivka, and we were stationed there. And yeah, there was like an old piano, so I used it, used to play it from time to time. And here we have a picture, because tonight we just talk and drink coffee, we can see some pictures, can we? So here is me in Krasnohorivka on a patrol, and the house behind my back was shot by a Russian tank from Donetsk, basically, because I'm facing Donetsk on this picture. And people, some local people, they were saying that actually this house was shot by NATO missiles, because Ukrainian army is equipped with NATO missiles that when shot they can turn around 180 degrees and strike their own houses, Ukrainian houses, to blame Russians. And basically this is how we moved. This is how we used to move between Mariinka and Krasnohorivka. And this famous picture is famous not only because I have unacceptably rusty barrel of my AKM, but it's a shame to show it actually, because later I became a sergeant and I would not accept this at all. But this picture was famous because right this moment, while taking this picture, I nearly lost my handgun. It got detached from the cord and almost flew away. So I nearly became a like a deserter. It was kind of funny. Yeah, and the next one, wait a second, what is this? And the next one is in Mariinka. Smoking is bad, but like on the front line nobody cares. And behind my back you can see a road leading to Alexandrivka that was controlled by Russians. It was a really hot summer that day, in June, I think. Yeah, it was in June. So Russians performed kind of attack. They moved into Mariinka. They had some really hard clashes with Ukrainian armed forces and us. And then Ukrainian artillery was used to eliminate huge amount of Russians that were attacking and catch them into a fire pit, so-called artillery fire pit. So that's when they had to retreat, and we retook the control over the territory, and that's basically that very period of time. All right. There was a request. There was a request to show you young operator Starsky. And and here I am. So I didn't change much, I think. So it's prior to the war and prior to all the military stuff in my life. So I liked to sing, not really could play when I was a kid. Neither I did sing well, but as a sergeant, actually, I can scream well. That's probably one of my superpowers. The picture on the left comes from one of our rehearsals when I had a band back then. So, yeah. And you had hair back then. You will be surprised right now because I'm gonna show you the teenage Starsky. Not really like a teenage, but something like that. I was like 19 years old, 20 years old. I was literally having hearts for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Trust me. What was the name of your band back then? It was wait a second. It was Jeanine, which didn't mean anything. It just sounded cool. But I had hair, and I was like, girls like to get acquainted with this person on the picture. So later, I became a oh my god. So I worked for different international organizations and strategic communication companies, and here I already don't remember where I took this picture, but I think in this very period of time I had a strong feeling that someone was like constantly watching me working, as if there was like some other person in the room with me, like all the time. It was kind of weird. So this is when I moved to a new office. Wait a second, where it is. Oh no, I lost it. But anyways, this is what I like to do when I had free time. Because my father was a military, he taught me how to operate weapons since I was probably 4 years old. And that was when I shot my first rifle. Actually, it was a light machine gun, RPK. That was literally loaded with tracing bullets, completely. And and since that time, this became my passion. So there's one, as well as kickboxing, of course, because it was so popular in Ukraine. And I was always training wearing this mask to improve my By the way, guys, if you are into sports and you consider buying this, let me see. And you consider buying this. Wait a minute. Just a second. I'm not prepared as always. There it is. So here we have our browser. If you consider buying this to work out wearing this mask, there's one thing you gotta know. Some developers or sellers of those masks, they will tell you that it imitates the condition of working out high in the mountains. It doesn't. For the simple reason, it doesn't, because to imitate working out high in the mountains, you have to imitate the thinner air, which is not the case, as well as different pressure, atmospheric pressure, which is not the case. So the only thing those masks are useful for is to make you more comfortable when you cannot breathe properly. That's the reason why we work out wearing gas masks in the army, and that's the reason basically why I was working out using this mask, because I like working out in a gas mask. It makes me more accustomed to stressful situations when you cannot breathe properly. And it's a perfect thing, in this regard. So that's one thing that you should know, in my opinion. All right, what do we have next? I have some more pictures to show you. This one is really cool. So here you can see on the left my grandpa. He was a commander of tank, sergeant, in 1945. And on the right, you can see me, his grandson, 10 years older, basically, also a sergeant. And this picture makes me so proud. It's so awesome. It was during our deployment in Svitlodorsk Bulge in 2017. And here on this picture, you can see this handsome... Oh my god! He ran away again. This handsome Ukrainian sergeant in the sergeant school, and that was exactly the period of time when I had like pneumonia, and I had to spend like 3 weeks in a hospital. It was so cool. I nearly died, and all of my guys were returning back to Kiev, and I didn't want to go without to go without them because they were returning to Kiev basically without me. So I had to leave the hospital before getting completely healthy. I tell you guys, like, God forbid to have pneumonia, but if you have it, you gotta treat it completely, because you can die. It was a hard time. Remember, I told you about this, about smoking in the armored vehicle. So here we are during our mutual military exercise in the area of Lviv, in Yavoriv, in 2016 with my buddy from my first infantry company, and we enjoyed smoking inside of the armored vehicle. It was like a tradition or something, like fetish, you know. It was really cool. And it was a really nice time. I still remember all of those guys from my company. Here they are. Some of them are not with us, unfortunately. Yeah, so those were my guys. That was specifically my platoon. And I can see that our platoon first sergeant there. You can notice that we are wearing woodland, and this woodland was donated to us by our friends from 1st Californian Battalion of the National Guard of the United States, as well as a bunch of other things, like glasses and things like that. So we had miles systems, and basically what it is, it's when you have a lot of sensors on your armored vest, on your helmet, you have like sensors, and then you have this laser device attached to your rifle, and whenever you shoot blank rounds, there's this impulse which makes this laser gadget shoot a laser beam in your direction, or direction of your enemy, of course, and your opponent, your OP4 representative, receives a laser beam to his by his sensors, right? And then they start beeping, signalizing that he's either dead or wounded. And here, for example, you can see those. Again, I was unprepared for this stream, big time. Here you can see those gentlemen helping us to set those mile systems properly, specifically those laser things to our they attach them to our weapons. You can see on the background there's a guy with AK rifle, and on the foreground there's two gentlemen with a PK machine gun. Did you train with the US Marines in 2015? Peter, there were Marines. I know for sure because they told us they were Marines, and they also exchanged their patches. I was crying because everybody received like patches from like US Marines, you know. It was so cool. I failed. They didn't have enough patches. Anyways, Ukrainian Punk asks, who's the best military unit in Ukraine? From Canada. And speaking of Canada, one Canadian gave me a bracelet with Canadian flag and Canadian patch. So it was just a flag, but it was my most precious patch that I had. All right. What type, and is it a puppy? Texas T. If you're talking about Fudge, he's a stray dog. He's not a special breed. He's just a stray dog. He's a ginger Ukrainian stray dog. That's his breed. What is your opinion on Ukrainian military shooting live fire rounds near cadets during training boot camp? I never saw such cases if there are such cases, I think that instructor must be punished big time, because it's violation of all the security laws and rules. But I'm sure there are such people. Trust me. I saw a lot of videos where those instructors were shooting near the cadets, but they were shooting blanks. Sometimes you can confuse blanks with live rounds, because it looks like they're making holes in the ground. However, actually, there's no bullet. It's just the expanding gas from the barrel that makes it look like there's a hole. However, I saw a lot of Russians doing that. Any comments about Russia going to counter on 24th of February with massive 500,000 troops? Right, we are expecting that, actually. I cannot tell you for sure they will have 500,000 men, but we expect them to bring a lot of reserves to the uncontrolled territory, and of course we expect to have a very, very heavy fight in this area. I think probably they will also attempt to attack from the territory of Belarus to distract our reserves, and basically, yeah, we will see their troops moving in our direction on the territory of Belarus. The actor Tom Selleck, original Magnum PI, Blue Bloods, was a member of the National Guard. Tom Selleck is sexy AF. I think he was staring at Friends, I think. He's really cool. Magnum PI, mustached man, yeah. National Guard in Ukraine is a bit different than the National Guard in the US, specifically because we are controlled by the Ministry of Interior. We are like soldiers who can fight enemy soldiers, but at the same time we can fight crime, which is cool. And that was one of the reasons why I decided to join National Guard, because we are law enforcement / counter-terrorist / military force. So we are much more like gendarmes in France, carabinieri in Italy, and my specifically brigade is very much like GIGN. However, we are based on, like, we have a structure of a mechanized company, brigade, mechanized brigade. So, but we have most tasks like GIGN. Denise, yes, Tom was Monica's older man love interest on Friends. Yeah, the latest episode I saw was Monica dating his son. And when they attempted to kiss, they failed because he reminded her of that guy. Yeah. Friends were cool. At some point, by the way, you remember those who so friends, remember there was a chick and a duck. And at some point they disappeared completely without even mentioning, And there is some very interesting investigations on YouTube analyzing where did they go. Highly recommended to watch it. Is Fudge trained in any strategic canine drills? Suzanne, he's not trained because he's a stray dog. So it's easier to train dogs that have some specific breed, like corgi, like those sausage dogs, those long ones, Why? Because they like to play, okay? Most of the dogs that contain some specific blood, those breeds, like shepherds, by the way, they like to play. And because they like to play, they are easy to train. You can train them to find some things that have some specific smell. That's how they train service dogs. That's how they train them to find explosives, drugs, things like that. Stray dogs are not best to train because they have, unlike other those special breeds, they have just 3 main instincts. It's to breed, to eat, and to run away in case there's a danger. They usually don't have this ability or interest in playing with toys. That's why it's complicated to train them. And that's the reason why Fudge doesn't have any specific training. I thought that probably I could train him to find like EODs, that would be so cool. But the problem is he's afraid of shots. He's afraid of even like firecrackers. They make him go completely hysteric, and he runs away when we have like a celebration, like a new year or something like that. Not this year specifically, but previous year. He was scared like hell. When there were firecrackers and fireworks, he's afraid of that. And because he was hunted when he was a puppy. That's what I was told. But he's a cuddler. He likes to cuddle, he likes to be loved, and he likes to bring happiness in other ways. Okay. Food motivated dogs are easy to train. My dog is food motivated, 100%. That's what he does all the time. But he is not really like I tried. I talked to different dog coaches. They told me that it's better to have him like a cuddler. It's his role completely. When you give him a toy, he doesn't like it. Even though he lived in the community of dogs and cats, some of them liked to play, of course, and he saw them playing with those toys, but he never developed any interest in that. So wait a second, I gotta reply to this very important message. Yeah, like a therapy dog, and he works exactly like that. I feel relieved when I pat my dog, when I brush him, and when I walk him out. He's a completely peaceful dude, not aggressive. Oh my god, I'm sorry for this. And there. Okay. There are DNA tests for dogs to detect genetic health problems. I think there are even DNA tests for people to detect same problems. I think. Alan, is it possible that you and Fudge will be guest stars as cartoon characters on the series Patron? I don't mind at all. When the tanks arriving? During the first wave of this aid that is coming to Ukraine, we will have around 120-140 tanks that will be delivered in the upcoming months. Unfortunately, I don't think that we will see them like next week in Ukraine. However, next week might be the start of this Russian counter offensive on the east. Oh, and by the way, Jeanine made a lot of new t-shirt designs. They look completely cool and awesome, and they are in the description of this stream, so you can check them out. Charles says dog is babe magnet. I think so. So there will be 100 T-72 variants. Yes, I heard about it. However, we still have to receive some confirmations from our partners. Some of them not like hesitate, but we need to have like solid confirmation. When are the Bradleys arriving? They are already en route. They are already being shipped to Ukraine. Again, as soon as I have one rolling on my backyard, I will make a video review for you guys. What motivates you to do those streams? You, my friends. You are the only reason I have these streams for you guys. Do you think UK Challenger tanks worth the logistics probes just for 10? I think they are. There is a huge storage. I think it's in Germany or in Austria or in Switzerland. I don't remember exact location, but I saw that article like a couple of days ago. So there's a huge private storage, like commercial storage, for older tanks, like I believe Challenger 1, maybe. So there's a lot of those tanks that are simply being stored, and it's one of the biggest private storages out there. And basically those tanks can be delivered to Ukraine as well. They are not in the best condition, but yeah, but we can still use them. Netherlands, probably. Yeah, Netherlands Leopard 1. Yeah, that's the one. Or Sweden. Or Belgium. guys, I don't remember the exact location, unfortunately. Maybe Belgium, maybe. Yes, it is Belgium, definitely. Now I remember. Lochinska says Goncharenko spoke well on our TV news today. He is a nice guy in this regard. I believe we talked on Facebook sometime when this invasion started. They were in Kiev for a while, supporting territorial defense and supporting different units, and we had a talk with Mr. Goncharenko. President Biden said no to the F-16s for Ukraine. So you think it was soft no? Kirk, I think it was the same no as it was no for Abrams tanks. It's not like a solid no, but it's rather like the logistics and infrastructure that makes maintaining those F-16s in Ukraine able, they don't exist yet, but probably they will. So this is the kind of no that he was talking about. Cindy, thank you. It's about time for me to get off work and head home. Have a great night. It's 4 p.m. here. Have a great night there. How about the older M60 tanks? I think they could be useful. It's all about, you see, Mark 1 or Mark 2 tanks, but the problem is, in order to fight Russian tanks effectively, you have to have some modern equipment installed on those tanks. And we're talking about night vision, thermal vision cameras, and stuff like that, stabilizers. So they need to be equipped with those. Otherwise, they will not make much sense on the battlefield. They will rather become good metal coffins for our tankers. How's the model kit coming along? Found any new parts lately? So I found a handle for opening a door. Unfortunately, I didn't find a door in this helicopter, but it was there, trust me. And I found like a sign saying like open the ramp carefully, something like that. But it belonged to another helicopter. I think, is it okay if I use different parts from different models? And if they fit, I will tell you. Anyways, it won't pass FAA certifications. Is it a Lada helicopter? Yes, it is. Actually, when it's finished, I will call it Lada, I think. Doors not necessary. Benjamin, the ejection system as well, because again, it was advertised millions of times on the Russian TV that Ka-52 helicopters have ejection system for the pilots, right? So from my experience, 0 pilots were ejected in 100 cases of shooting down those helicopters. No one survived. Probably that was the idea behind this ejection system, so it shouldn't work, Maybe. Then, in this case, yeah, it works the way it was meant to work. Johan, how many hours of filing, you guess? I think it will take some time. Because in order to file Lada down to a helicopter, I think it will require some. I will need to change my job, I think, to have enough time to do that. But again, according to FAA regulations, I have to spend 51% of my time bringing this aircraft kit together and building it. I have to dedicate 51% of my time. So I will have to spend some maybe years. The normal companies like Vans RV or like Kid Fox, they usually deliver a manual together with their kits, and in this manual they usually tell you how much time it takes to complete your kit. Unfortunately, Russians didn't deliver the manual together with their kits. You could use aluminium foil. I think I could use like a chewing gum. It's cheaper, and buy a mouse, Silver Earth. There must be specific type of mouse, because the mouse that I found in that Russian helicopter, it came all the way from, I think, Rostov, and it must be a Rostov mouse. We don't have Rostov mice in Ukraine, so I will probably have to contact some biologists from Rostov, and we don't talk much, nowadays. Sparky Project says just use duct tape. Exactly, that's exactly what I will do. Duct tape is the best invention we can think about. Duct tape saved Apollo astronauts at some point. First, last, that mouse in the helicopter has become internet legend. I didn't expect to see it there, I swear. I was literally, just recording the wrecks, the parts of that kit that arrived previously, and and then there was this box with like micro circuits, whatever, and I was just literally recording and trying to record what's inside, and boom, there's mouse. And not just mouse, Rostov mouse that made its longest flight in its little mouse life. AR or AK, which do you prefer? Joe, it's AR versus AK is an old holy war uh, that predates even my dad, I think. So there are advantages, there are downsides and advantages in both cases. But I tell you this, as a person who operated AKs for years, as well as ARs, I can tell you that even though AR was designed to be operated by common people, okay, by, I don't know, like draft soldiers, basically, technically, still it's much more advanced than AK. AK lacks precision, even though you can learn how to shoot like a Robin Hood, okay, but it still lacks precision just mechanically. At the same time, AR was designed for conscious people, well-trained people who care about their weapons, or at least who should care about their weapons. And it's like higher class than AK. But at the same time, it's a bit more complex than AK. You can disassemble AK with just one hand in a complete darkness, even if you're like a high school student. And believe me, we checked that. And you will not risk of losing some smaller parts, because there's not many parts in AK that can be lost. Also, you can clean that. Some specific parts of AK can be cleaned just using a freaking sand. So that's the advantages of the AK. Other than that, I cannot claim that AK is better than AR. AR is a higher class rifle. It's more advanced than AK. And of course, it's lighter, much lighter. Mirai Duncan says gas piston. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Exactly that part. Did they send the mouse to eat all the Ukrainian grain? Could be, because, that mouse lived in a helicopter, which means that it was starving, probably. Mark Snyder, conscious people, you were never in the US Army. Because you were never in the Soviet Army, yes. There are conscious people in US Army. Miley says, in Spain we also call electricity the light. It's nice to know. Oh, now I see. So, Xcal Pro says the mouse made the rotors spin. And that sounds 100% legit. Now it was obvious from the very beginning. I mean, but because there's like two counter-rotating rotors, probably there were two mice actually inside of that, that circle running. And probably something happened to the first one. I don't know. Maybe it was broken. So they decided just, like not to use it, which caused the crash. Could be. Is Revo good? It seems like a crazy drink. I never tried it, but I would not recommend it either. Oh, Ben Martin, in Portugal we also called electricity light. Yeah. I didn't know it was so popular. Oh, okay. Guys, it's a midnight here in Ukraine. I had huge pleasure talking to you, and I also have a lot of pictures that I couldn't show you, but we will do this next time. Okay, thank you so much for tonight's stream. Thank you so much for participating, and thank you so much for your beautiful questions and your support. It was awesome. Actually, I think that we gotta talk more about life, because I really enjoyed it, and I really hope that you did too. So we'll see you later. Have a great night or day or whatever you have it there in your location, and be safe. My name is Operator Starsky. As always, thank you for watching.